She's coming? Is it Leslie? Never mind. Sorry.
Cool.
What happened?
She's in the lobby.
Yeah.
Here I go.
She made it.
How are you?
Saved by the bell.
Saved by the bell.
Bridge traffic is a real job.
No, I guess that's what it is.
Okay. Leslie, you mind if we get started? Okay? Okay. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is a meeting of the local planning agency meeting for the village of Tequesta. Today is June 15th. We'll call the meeting at 5:30 p.m. McKenna, may I have a roll call, please?
James String,
Here.
Steve Egan,
Here.
Elizabeth Show, Leslie Dasher,
Here.
Teresa Maggio,
Here.
Sherry Ambrose,
Here.
Jean Bible here, and Marisa here.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the approval of tonight's agenda. May I have a motion, please, to proceed?
Make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Our next item is the approval of the previous meeting minutes from March 16th to 2023. Did y'all have a chance to review them?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the previous meeting minutes from March 16th, 2023.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Our first item tonight is an ordinance number 4-23, an ordinance of the Village of Tequesta, amending the Village Code of Ordinance at Chapter 10 Animals. Article 3, Sea Turtle Protection, by repealing this article in its entirety and adopting a new Article 3, Sea Turtle Protection. Matt, do you want to take the floor?
I would defer to Lance on this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I
All
knew
right.
it was one of you.
He's got
Sorry.
the floor.
Okay.
1-1.
Yeah, so this ordinance actually might look familiar to you. We heard this ordinance in the beginning of this year in February. After the LPA heard the ordinance, it actually went to the village council, where the village council actually wanted to see more information in the ordinance and more specifications in the ordinance. We actually have Lynn Britt here from the building department who can provide you with a video as well as more information. Lynn?
Excuse me, ma'am, could you step up to the mic for us, please, so we can hear you? Thank you.
As diurnal creatures, humans have long sought after methods to eliminate the night. As a result, we transformed the nighttime environment over substantial portions of the Earth's surface. Unfortunately, this transformation is not without significant ecological consequences to the numerous nocturnal creatures we share the Earth with. Light is a powerful biological force, and on many species, it acts as a magnet, disrupting foraging, mating, resting, hormone-related processes, and navigational behaviors. Perhaps some of the best data on the effects of ecological light pollution on wildlife come from the coast of Florida, where sea turtles are struggling to survive the encroachment of urban development on the nesting site. Florida hosts 90% of all sea turtle nesting in the United States, and the majority of Florida's human population resides along its sandy coastlines. Lights from coastal homes, condominiums, hotels, restaurants, and other businesses kill tens of thousands of threatened and endangered sea turtles each year. How and why does artificial light affect sea turtles? Artificial lighting affects both nesting females looking for a quiet, dry, and dark place to lay her eggs safely, and it affects hatchlings trying to orient towards the ocean after digging out of the sand. Not only can it deter them from nesting, it can also cause them to become disoriented once they're on the beach and prevent them from finding their way back to the water. Sea turtle hatchlings use multiple cues to orient toward the ocean. They orient towards the bright open horizon and move away from dark silhouettes. So, large structures, dark structures actually, can act as a large silhouette and cue the turtles towards the ocean. The good news is that light pollution is manageable. Light does not linger in the environment like other polluting substances. As technology advances, there are numerous solutions to light the night without impacting ecologically sensitive habitats, disrupting ecosystems, and wasting energy. You can correct light's disorienting sea turtles by following the 3 golden rules. Keep it low. This refers to the height of the light fixture, as well as the lumen output. Use low-profile fixtures with the lowest possible wattage needed for safety. Keep it shielded. Use fixtures that shield the bowl, lamp, or rolling lanterns from the beach. Keep it long. Long refers to the wavelength or color of light. Sea turtles are less disturbed by long wavelengths of light in the red, orange, and yellow spectrums. Benefits to property owners. A 100% decrease in disorientation to the retrofitted properties. Satisfied property owners who are extremely happy with the pleasing amber color of the light. Amber LEDs are more energy efficient than an incandescent bulb, and property owners are reporting a 70% decrease in monthly electric bills for their exterior lighting. Here are some property retrofit pictures. It is possible to address our safety and security needs with lighting while making sure that the sea turtles can nest and safely make it back to the water.
So good evening. Lance had asked me to attend to answer any questions you may have. So I can also give you an introduction. I don't know how much information you would like on this subject.
Board, I'll open it to you. Would you like to have the introduction, and do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions.
I'd like a little overview of how, so this is Palm Beach County, the whole, from Boca all the way to Tequesta, we're all doing this?
Yeah, would you like me to read you the brief?
I wouldn't mind.
Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to give you a slight background. So the main human threat to sea turtles is artificial lighting near nesting beaches, which affects both nesting females and legions of hatchlings. Even a single bright light near a nesting site can cause all of the hatchlings on a given beach to head inland. Hatchlings have a finite amount of energy when they hatch, which they desperately need to get to the water and swim out to safety. Sea turtles are a keystone species, which means that they are an important part of the environment and influence other species around them. Sea turtles have played vital roles in maintaining the health of the world's oceans for more than 100 million years, including maintaining productive coral reef ecosystems and transporting essential nutrients from the oceans to beaches and coastal dunes. So, turtle-friendly lighting. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FWC, is the state trustee for sea turtles in Florida. The FWC operates under the authority of Florida Statute 379.2431 and Florida Administrative Code Rule 68E-1. Permitting authority for conducting research and conservation activities is granted to the FWC by the Florida Fish and Wildlife Service under a cooperative agreement consistent with the Federal Endangered Species Act. The FWC established wildlife lighting guidelines for all those living near sea turtle nesting beaches to minimize lighting impacts to sea turtles. These FWC lighting guidelines are incorporated into the State of Florida Model Lighting Code Ordinance, which is the basis for the draft Village of Tequesta Sea Turtle Protection Ordinance before you.
Gotcha.
The State of Florida Model Lighting Ordinance for Sea Turtle Protection, which was effective in January of 2021, provides guidelines for local government regulations that control artificial lighting to protect sea turtles. The attached draft Sea Turtle Ordinance incorporates the model standards and requirements. The village's draft ordinance also establishes a sea turtle lighting R3 district, as the lighting within the entire R3 district can potentially be seen from the beach. Palm Beach County's Department of Environmental Resources Management, ERM, is responsible for regulating beachfront lighting in the county, and its sea turtle ordinance is effective within the unincorporated and incorporated areas of the county, except where municipalities within its jurisdiction had their own equally or more stringent ordinance. The attached draft ordinance would meet that requirement, and the village would not be subject to Palm Beach County's Sea Turtle Protection Ordinance. However, the village would continue to work in partnership with ERM to ensure that sea turtles remain protected.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you. Board, I'll ask, does anyone have any questions? I'll open the floor right now to public comment.
Hi, I'm Marie Sapiri. I live in the country club. To begin, this is a very important issue, and it's critical that we get it right. The building department is clearly on the right track. We have a new hire, I understand, so we'll have our own beach lighting inspector with a background at FWC to help us implement it and to do it well, which is fantastic. My concern is that the details of the statute, and it's a long one, so the first point is that the backup here was lacking. We had an excellent memo at the May 1st Council workshop prepared by Lynn Britt, and that wasn't included in our backup, but it was really helpful in explaining the background and where the text came from and the model ordinance from the state. There are many good things about the state model ordinance, but it's not yet ready to be enacted here. It requires some more tailoring to Tequesta so that it suits our local situation. Time permitting, I will cover some of the questions and concerns I have about the state model and suggest changes, but what we really need is a line-by-line review that considers how every aspect of this statute would work in Tequesta. So this is a 20-page ordinance, so I would suggest that you reject this proposal for now and recommend to the council that it be sent to the EAC for that careful line-by-line review. Hopefully with our new FWC certified employee to help them through that. I think it needs some refinement, and we need to have some more internal process before we approve it, and although I think we're on the right track. Before I get to my list, I want to point out that this ordinance appears to remove section 10-75, which has standards for mechanical beach cleaning. The ordinance doesn't seem to replace it, so it seems that we should know the answer to why that is. This is something else that would be good to have the EAC look into. On the list of concerns, the economic justification in sections 10-62D should probably be removed. We don't protect the nesting sea turtles for financial reasons. We do it because it's the right thing to do. Putting economic justifications into every law isn't really a habit that we should cultivate here. The applicability section 10-64D, this section seems a little out of place. My question is, why is the process to appeal from the building official's decision to the council, and what is the rubric that the council has to make that, or uses to make that decision? There are two sections that are numbered 10-64, so in the second one that is labeled definitions, it has definitions for dune and frontal dune, but many of our beachfront properties do not have dunes. That's, of course, a broader problem, but notice that the model statute refers repeatedly to a dune on the beach as a crucial point of reference. In this, the law assumes the existence of that dune, but we need to clarify for our statute what we're going to be measuring off of. Section 10-68B through C talk about motorized vehicles and horseback riding, and we should probably evaluate some of those. And I'm out of time, but I have more on the list as well. So,
Thank you. Thank you for your input. Tom?
Good evening, Thomas Bradford, 44 Chestnut Trail. I'm very pleased that the village has taken the steps to update its turtle protection ordinance. It's actually overdue. I have three comments. One is the construction of the ordinance itself. I found it problematic, at least for me when I read it, that the definitions that were applicable to the content of the ordinance came at the end of the ordinance as opposed to the beginning of the ordinance or near the beginning, so that you knew what those definitions were and you could refer to them. And a couple of times I was lost wondering what did they mean by that terminology. The second thing is the name of the Sea Turtle District, I believe, is problematic. It led me to believe in one instance that its name is technically Sea Turtle Lighting R-3 District. The R-3 zoning district is only located on the island, but it goes on to say, right after they've named it, that includes all properties in the village of Tequesta that may produce, can't read my own writing, artificial light on any portion of the beach. So I think it can confuse people into thinking that it's only applicable to R3 properties, but it also says village-wide. So what is it? It's confusing. And then the last thing was a bit disturbing to me. It requires the village manager to establish a duty to hire a beach lighting inspector. That's very unusual, highly unusual. In Palm Beach, where I worked for many years, we had 12 miles of beach. We didn't have one. We contracted it out. That's not hiring, it's called contracting. And finally, the oddity about it is all of the funding for everything we see and do here is a village council function. It is not a village manager function. So something is funky about that, the way that is written. So otherwise, I think it's great to update, but those three things I thought are problematic that need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. I'll open the floor to any other public comment. We'll close the floor. Board, any comments?
I totally agree that there's so long, that there's any number of things that need to be adjusted, but overall, I think it looks great, and it's a good start.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be...
I can address a few of Thomas Bradford's comments if you like.
That'd be great.
That would be great.
I'd love you to.
Yeah,
Okay.
you have the floor.
Yeah, so actually, the lady's first comment regarding the mechanical beach cleaning. So we want to make sure it's a utilitarian code section, and we don't enforce that. So mechanical beach cleaning is permitted by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. So if that's in our code, it's nothing we're acting upon. But that can be put back in if you like, but that's not utilitarian. The next item is the beach lighting inspector. That's also going to be one of the code enforcement officers. It's not going to be a brand new position. It's part in conjunction of their existing duties. And let's see. Yeah, those are the only two items that I have here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
What about that Sea Turtle District, the terminology?
Oh, yes, sorry, that was the
Sea Turtle
third.
District, R3.
Yes, so the R3 zoning district is on Beach Road. So potentially any of the lights from those buildings can reflect off of other buildings and potentially be seen from the beach. And that's the only part of the village that this applies to and that could potentially be seen from the beach. So it doesn't apply to any other zoning districts.
Can I ask a question?
Go right ahead.
So if we do not have this local ordinance approved, then we're subject to the county's ordinance?
Correct.
And so is the county's ordinance similar in the respects that were outlined here? From my point of view, I don't think it's beneficial to property owners in Tequesta to have to deal with the county separately from Tequesta, so I think it would be advantageous for us to have our own ordinance. And even if we modified it later, I'm supportive of the ordinance in front of us.
And Palm Beach County's is very similar to the state model ordinance. One of the differences is that Palm Beach County requires 570 nanometers in their lighting, whereas the code The model code is 560 nanometers, so Palm Beach County is actually more stringent in that regard, but the state of Florida is 560. That's the general.
Thank you.
All right, so I got a question. So Mr. Bradford mentioned in the town of Palm Beach, they do not have an enforcement function on the beach in the town of Palm Beach? Is that true? What, could we clarify that? We don't have a position for it, but what is, just explain that some more.
Well, the town of Palm Beach has its separate turtle protection ordinance.
just like
so that
this.
They don't like the county traipsing on their property like this lady said.
I gotcha.
And so the sea turtle protection functions that are outlined in the Palm Beach ordinance, all of those functions are contracted out with a third party to
gotcha.
do the
Okay.
work. So that
Okay.
there is no employee with,
I gotcha.
pensions and overhead and so forth.
Right.
If I may, while I'm standing here, it's fine with me if you only want the applicability of the ordinance to pertain to properties that are in the R3 zoning district. But if you look closely at the way the ordinance is written, the first time it makes reference to that name given, it goes on to say in the next few words that any light emanating from anywhere in the village. So that would need to be corrected if you only want it to be applicable to properties in the R3 district. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
And just also to clarify, so Palm Beach County, they have full-time dedicated employees whose full-time jobs are patrolling the beach, writing up any property that has the artificial lighting that isn't in compliance.
Okay.
And so we would be working in conjunction with them. And as you'll note in the code, the sea turtle protection plans are going to be reviewed by ERM, by the Palm Beach County, yeah.
Okay.
So we do work in conjunction with them still, and I don't know if you're familiar with Teal Kawana, but they just provided us with the display outside, which that video that you saw is part of, as part of our educational campaign to make sure that all property owners are very aware of all of the requirements.
Okay.
Working with Palm Beach County, who has final word as far as our beaches here in Tequesta?
If we adopt this code, then ours.
Ours? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you want to move forward, guys?
I do want to add, I think lighting in the village per se, if somebody had one of those circulating lights because they're trying to showcase an event or something, that could be seen possibly from the beach and distract.
If they're having an event, they would need a special event permit for that, and that would be part of the application process, reviewing what they're looking to do and if it's in compliance with our code as a whole.
But that would be something that could possibly be seen from the beach and would not be allowed for that reason, I would think.
Yeah, correct.
Any specialty lighting like that.
Yes.
So I understand the reason for involving the whole village because it,
But, yeah, laser lights potentially, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I'd make a motion that we vote. Recommend, sorry, not vote. Do I need to say the whole?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna make a recommendation that we add an amendment that this is R3 zoning district, specific. Maybe because I think it's that terminology, the sea turtle district, it did seem that it could expand everywhere. So I would just say, maybe we could, my motion is we make it we restrict it to the R3 zoning district.
So do you want to take that amendment with your motion?
Yeah, I'd support that. I don't think it's necessary, but I don't object to it.
Okay.
So we could change that wording on that A of section 10-64A. It says the sea turtle lighting R3 district shall include all properties within the village of Tequesta that may produce artificial light directly, indirectly, or cumulatively visible from any portion of the beach, regardless of whether those properties are beachfront properties. So you would like to change that to the sea turtle lighting R3 district shall include all properties within the R3 zoning district.
That's my recommendation for a vote.
We can do that.
Okay. I'd like to make a second amendment that the definitions at the end that Tom referred to, that language be moved to the beginning of the article, just to keep it focused.
We can also do that, no,
Okay.
no problem.
Can I ask a question about that amendment? Is it typical that we do definitions at the beginning or the end of ordinances? I would want it to be consistent with how we typically include definitions in our ordinances.
As far as I'm aware, most of the time they are up at the front.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so at this point, McKenna, do you have the possibility, can you read that motion back to us?
Okay, so it is, Steve recommended to change the terminology to restrict the ordinance to the R3 district,
Mm-hmm.
and then you just wanted to move the definitions up towards the front.
Correct. Okay. But we're looking at this as it stands now. Further down the road, we can,
Things could be
yes, all right.
adjusted.
We need a second.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, the next ordinance is number 8-23, an ordinance of the Village Council of the Village of Tequesta, amending the Village Code of Ordinance at Chapter 78, at Section 78-4. Definitions, to reverse the definition of the term veterinary office, providing that each and every other section and subsection of Chapter 78 shall remain in full force and effect as previously adopted, providing a conflicts clause, severability clause, and the authority to codify, providing an effective date and for other purposes. And at this point, I'll turn the floor over to Lance.
Madam Chair and board members, so this is a new ordinance. This ordinance was actually based off of Ordinance 0523 that you guys actually saw earlier this year. The ordinance that you saw earlier was to essentially allow veterinary offices in the C2 zoning district. Within that process, it went to the council. Council approved it. They also wanted to see the definition of veterinary offices be amended. At the time, it was to potentially change the word may to shall, as well as look at the reconfiguration of the requirement for an outdoor area post surgery or medical facility or medical operations. So the ordinance in front of you, it went to a council workshop on May 1st. And after that, they actually said that they wanted it to be more tailored to adjacent to the building rather than the rear of the building. And that's really the gist of the ordinance. It just puts a definition or a specific place of where you're going to put the outdoor area. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Lance. I'll open the floor to the board. Is there any questions? And I'll open it for public comment. Any questions?
Marie Security, this is quick. The word may in the penultimate sentence should be shall or must. The offices should be required to include an outdoor area for the walking of dogs and other animals receiving treatment.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
So I'll actually just address that. So that was something that was brought up to council, and council decided that they would not include that simply just because since this is going to be a special exception in this particular zoning district, as well as there is another property that may not meet that definition of shall, then what that would create would be a legal nonconformity, and essentially we don't want to create legal nonconformities. So if, let's say, there's another veterinary office in the C2 zoning district, then essentially council would have discretion on whether or not they'd like to approve said use if they meet the requirements or not. So that's the reason why that wasn't actually included in this ordinance.
You mean Dr. Joy's office?
Yes.
Thank you.
Board, any comments? How do you want to move forward?
I make a motion to approve or recommend approval of ordinance number 08-23.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, motion passes. We'll open the floor to staff comments at this point.
None.
Thank you. We'll open again to public comments. Anybody? We're closing public comments. Board comments? Okay, we'll close that too. Moving right along, I need a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll call it at 6.